nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight, and those of you watching from home. We will move on to the agenda. The approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any additions, changes? If not, the agenda will be adopted as presented. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from August 25th and August 26th. Those were sent out ahead of time. That was a special county council meeting at the depot, and our August 26th normal meeting. Review of tax levies, that meeting. Does anyone have any corrections to the minutes? If not, the minutes will stand approved as presented. All right, next is comments from the public. Does anyone have any comments? No? Jim?
Is he at, what, 2 minutes?
Jim was supposed to be on the agenda, but we'll let him talk under comments from the public.
Thank you for reference.
Okay?
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually, one of the reasons I'm here is, at the meeting, at the commissioners' meeting on the 4th, I approached the commissioners, I believe it was on the 4th, I approached the commissioners concerning the wording and the situation where, and if you go to the animal control ordinance, that's not the animal control ordinance, there in section 2, 10 years ago, section 2 was completely eliminated except for one paragraph, which you probably don't hear about. But I approached the commissioners and said that, the wording actually in section 2 had 2 parts, and actually the first part's licensing, and the second part's permits. And the wording under the argument was they had to completely eliminate section 2 because of the state law 6939, which is the animal control, it's the county option dog tax. I'm half asleep here. I'm very tired. Okay, but anyway, so I questioned that of why they would have eliminated the full section 2. Okay, and they said that's what they thought they were supposed to do, and they referred it to you. They referred it to the fiscal body to look into that. In other words, when they were asking for certain things which would be under the animal control ordinance, obviously, the county option dog tax had to be approved before a county could license, other than counties that had already passed the ordinance, their own ordinance, in January of 2007. So they were actually grandfathered and did not have to have approval of the fiscal body. But anyway, that's part of the reason why I'm here, and I'll be at the end of this, I will present something to you. But anyway, I'm approaching you because of that, but I also want to make a short review of the county's current position concerning the animal issues. Okay, number 1, Perry County has not had an animal control officer since 2013. They eliminated the position, I believe, in December 31st of 2013. The shelter, now county-owned, has been closed for almost 2 years. But in reality, it was actually closed almost for a year before that because there was hardly any action done by them for the county. Number 3, there has been one proposal for the shelter services, And I do not have the amount, and I think that was from Herbie Landers. And it was between $140,000 and $160,000. But do you have the amount with you?
I don't have it on. I do have that proposal, but I don't remember the amount. It was well over $100,000.
Okay. Anyway, right now there are no shelter proposals at this time. This batch does not have a proper animal issue protocol. And this is very important, because when dispatch gets a call, whoever's on and what the situation can vary according to the situation. If it's at a county or it's a city issue, then different people are called. But since they don't have a protocol, confusion starts. Herbie may get a call. The police may get a call. I may get a call when I was manning the phone for the Humane Society, and there's really no protocol if we've got any kind of animal emergency, so it's kind of like up in the air. Where do you go? Who do you talk to? So I talked to the police chief and assistant police chief with dispatch, and dispatch is very interested in trying to come up with a protocol, okay? Candleton, Troy, and parts of city, I'm changing now, are overrun with alley cats, okay? Because of a lack, and I'm jumping on PowerPoints. Because of lack of action, citizens are starting to take matters in their own hands. In other words, there are people in Candleton and Tell City and Troy that are fed up with not getting any action when they've got a problem, especially with the cat problem, and they're doing some things that are causing problems, and nothing's being done about that. Okay? The health department has been forced to make decisions concerning quarantines which could cause big liability problems. Okay? And where that came from was in the animal control ordinance. There's a statement in there that states that it's the animal control board that is the one that decides where an animal's to be quarantined, but they've been putting that off for years to the health department. And the health department is not trained to do that, okay? So they're not following the ordinance as it's stated in the ordinance, okay? None of the animal control board is NACA trained, but some are performing duties which should require certification. Are you familiar with NACA? Is everybody here familiar with NACA? Okay, NACA is the National Animal Control Association. They're the national organizations that certifies animal control. Used to be you had to go like to Louisville, Indianapolis, or whatever, and they would show up about every 3 to 6 months. You could get a person in. All of our past animal control people and the shelter manager were certified. We're having the animal control board, which are not animal control officers, and I don't know who all is doing this, but going out and retrieving animals with no training, no certification, okay? So that's a problem. Okay? Currently, the county does not have the ability by law to issue licenses per 6939. And I'm just giving these problems real quick, okay? Many of the citizens are getting frustrated because of lack of action by our local officials. So I'm going to put this in a summation, so it's real quick. So at this time, we have no animal control officer, no animal control protocol at the dispatch center, no working shelter, no reasonable proposal to contract a group to manage the shelter, increased diseased cats and dogs being released in rural areas, improper procedures forced on to the health department, no properly trained certified animal handlers, and a growing number of citizens not happy with our officials concerning their inability to solve these growing problems. But this can change. On November 16th, I'm going to offer to the commissioners a plan to remedy over time all of the problems that I presented you today. And most importantly, try to make you understand that you are an integral part of this plan. So I ask you this. If I can offer the county the ability not only to open shelter as early as April next year, but to also have a county animal control officer at approximately half the cost of having either. In other words, would you be interested if I can tell you that I can get you both at half the cost of what you were proposed? In other words, they were offering you $160,000 to open up a shelter. And that's not even talking about an animal control officer. They talked about what it takes to open up to have an animal control officer. And I got this right here from the sheriff's department. There's $83,000 is for a regular officer. If you went out and said, we're going to hire an officer, going to make you an animal control officer so you can do everything that needs to be done under the law, it's $83,000, not counting a vehicle for the first year. So that's $83,000, okay? What I'm proposing is, and if people will listen to the plan, which I'm going to offer again on November 16th at the second commissioners meeting, a way to do both of those. Would you be interested? Would you be interested? Pam, I ought to ask you because you're the one. I'm joking. I know, I'm teasing you. Would you be interested? I know you'd be interested. But in order for the plan to work efficiently, you must consider applying the state IC 6939, and I'm not pushing that issue till later on for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
This ordinance states by the state law, gives the responsibility to the physical bodies of each county to enact and oversee its implementation. Now, it's very important to understand that most of your ordinances are commissioner handled, but there are some the state gives that to the fiscal body. You not only pass that, but you work with the treasurer for the actual when you're getting certain things, when you're giving licensing and stuff like that. And see, if you look at the very last page, you'll see a copy of that I provided for you, and that it's actually a copy of the new. That's the new one as opposed to the old one. Okay, so you're actually involved with that, and that's really important. So, like I said before, I'm going to give the proposal on November 16th. But first, I'm going to go to the city councils. I'm going to everybody that I can that'll listen to the plan that I put together. I've been putting it together for actually 2 years. But by the way, in fact, thanks to Greg Jarbo, we've got at least something going, and I really appreciate that. And also thanks to Greg Jarbo, we're getting the roof put on the outer kennel, which is actually part of the plan that I planned, and that's an integral part of this. It's going to actually take a lot of liability away from the county when I explain to you how it works. Okay, so I'm terrible because, like I said, I have to read everything and I can't remember. In conclusion, I plan on being on the agenda, and I'm asking the mayors and other officials to be there. So, real quick, has anybody got any questions right now, or is it too?
I'd be more interested in hearing the plan and the amount of funds needed to be raised, and so I'm guessing you want the dog tax would take care of a portion of the overall fees. Is that?
I just want you to consider it, but not the taxes. It's the actual. It would actually be the licensing, because there's going to be a slight difference in the amount that I think's needed. I'm thinking 80,000. Okay, it could be 60, but it's approximately. If it's 160 that was offered, it's going to be approximately half that, and. I explained to the sheriff department and the police department. Actually, they're the only ones that I've actually in detail, because they are very important in this plan. And you'll, like I said, when I offer it. So I forgot to ask you what you thought of. What did you think of the plan?
good presentation. I told Jim he's thinking outside the box, and that's what we need. So, yeah, it's, and there's been a lot of talk, but it's just, you know, I think the plan's solid enough that you know, people can act on it.
Right, and by the way, I'm also working with actually getting maintenance on the shelter, would not cost to the county. I'm working with, I've been trying to get a hold of Randy Stroop to see if he would also consider paying for the cost of the security systems that I'm going to be asking for. And I'm finding different ways, and volunteers, trained volunteers are very important in this. Trained volunteers, not volunteers that just come up and say, okay, I'll do this. You got to have trained volunteers. And I know where I can get them. So,
Did you say Randy?
Randy Stroop, he's
The owner of the building?
the renter.
The renter.
He's the
Rents
renter.
building.
Right, he rents the back half of the building, the south half of the building. And I think he would be very interested in
For the security?
well, because I think he needs security too with the cost of the things that are in it. Have you seen what's in his building? You haven't, but inside his building is a lot of cost. There's a lot of materials in there that are going up in cost. You're not just replacing them anymore. You can't even get them. He's trying to find, you know, if I got I just say a transmission that's made in China and it's on one of those boats and he can't get it, it's very important what he's got in there, and if somebody breaks in there. So I think he's interested. This is speculation. I think he'd be very interested in making sure that the whole building's secure. So I think with working with him and other things, I'll let you go. I'm sorry.
Alrighty. Thanks, Jim.
All right.
Anyone else?
I got a couple follow-ups.
Real quick? Okay.
If you don't hear, 'cause it's
No.
Okay, so, first off, the animal control officer, we have one now. I mean, they're contracted, so we have an animal control officer through. In Perry County, I agree, we need one in Perry County, but right now we do have one in Harrison. And protocol, there is a protocol in place. We actually put a temporary protocol in place for dispatch last Friday. So that's in place as well. So if someone calls dispatch, they know how to handle it at this point. And then also there's a draft SOP that I'm taking to the commissioners on November 1st for review as well, which should even further that protocol in the permanence. Like I said, right now it's a temporary protocol. And I've reviewed your plan, and we've talked about the letter and stuff we want to send out. I've got that done for you. So I think we're working towards that, but I just wanted to make sure those few little points were there. In case somebody out there that's listening does find a cat or a dog or something, we do have a protocol in place. They do get calls and stuff now, so if you call a dispatch, we have something in hand. So, okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Celia?
Celia Farrand, recovering alcoholic and addict. I've stood before you guys many times begging for funds for a sober house, so I'm not new to most of you. Well, the wheels of local government do spin slowly, don't they? I don't have anything planned, but I want to say this. As I'm looking at this agenda, all the money is for police. It's for part-time officers and sheriff's salary and inmate housing, and which is all necessary and critical. I wonder how much of that money could be saved if, in fact, we were able to prevent inmates. We have been talking about a sober house in this town for a long time. All we do is talk. That's all we do. There are strong families, strong communities. I've been in on those meetings. Intelligent women, passionate women, trying to come together for a common cause, and there's no decision makers. Nothing is moving us towards the money we need and we deserve for a sober house in this town. Now, I have heard many comments. The town doesn't want it. They don't want it in their backyard. You know, what an antiquated way of talking. Okay, so, but you'll deal with prisoners and the money it takes to house them. but we won't deal with an addict who's trying to get recovery. That makes no sense to me at all. I'm tired of talking about this. I don't know what it's going to take for us to move forward. You know, if I could give you a number right now saying I need $150,000 a year in order to maintain this, build it, staff it, and keep it going. I don't know. I don't even think we have a number yet. We can't even get what we need to come to a conclusion on what it might actually cost. Not for lack of trying. There are no decision makers. So I don't know where to go with this. A lot of us don't know where to go with this. There are many women in that group who are making their own decisions. We'll move it forward a different way. We will move it forward. It will happen. Because I can guarantee you the money you're spending on housing inmates could be better spent preventing inmates. That's all I have prepared. I feel a bit like this gentleman back here who, every time I come in, he's talking about the shelter. Still talking about the shelter. Still talking about it. So I don't know what it takes to move local government to action. My program is about action. What I have to do in recovery is take the steps, physically take the steps to get up, read my literature, stay clean and sober, and go help another struggling alcoholic and addict. It's just talk. This is all just talk. So I will continue to plead my case. I will continue to work with these passionate women who are on the same page as I am. And at some point, maybe we can stop talking and start doing. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments? We will move on to transfers. Within the county, or in the county general fund, within the Perry County Sheriff's Department budget, $8,000 from 7th police officer to part-time officers, and $150 from merit board members to the sheriff's salary. And you should have had that request for transfers explaining all that. Eric, do you mind explaining what the increase in the part-time officers,
Sure.
what caused that?
The 7th police officer line item that ends in .29 belongs to deputy pay line. And,
Okay,
and
that's
deputy pay
right.
line is on military duty, and he will be on military duty until at least 2022. His orders were for at least 440 days. I don't think, just according to him, I don't think he'll be gone 440 days, but well into 2022 before we see him again. So in his absence, we had asked to take some of the balance of his salary to move into the part-time fund to be able to pay part-time deputies for his absence.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Any other questions on this? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion on the transfer.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by David.
I'll second.
Second by Earl. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. 4-0.
Yeah, I was double checking too.
Next transfer is in the lit public safety fund in the Perry County Detention Center budget. $150 from jail corporal salary to jail officer's holiday pay, and $2,500 from jail corporal salary to janitorial maintenance supplies. Does anyone have any questions on that? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion by Danny to approve,
Second.
second by Erla. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Our next transfer of funds is in the pretrial diversion fund within the Perry County Prosecutor's budget. $460 from specialized investigative equipment to victim advocate salary. And that is for,
That's what you said.
yep, just that simple.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we got a motion by David,
Second.
second by Danny. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Additional appropriation within the Perry County General Fund and the Perry County Circuit Court budget, $75,000 for compensation pauper attorney. unfortunately, it's needed. And we don't really have a choice, so. Is that compensation or compensation?
It's supposed to be, okay, yes, I have a miss.
I thought David was gonna catch it first. Compensation, proper attorney,
You know, I know it right now, they've got several trials.
And it's in the end.
Hopefully, some of them will pan
It is
out
in the
that
end.
won't happen.
It's in here.
Hopefully,
Oh.
there'll be
I see.
some left over.
Yeah, so then if it's not all
Oh.
spent, then at least, I mean, it will
Okay, so
stay.
we'll have
So
some.
hopefully, this will be enough to get through to the end of the year.
okay,
That's all
I'll
we can
make a
hope for.
motion with transfer.
sure, well, the additional appropriation.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Danny and a second by Erla, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Alrighty, our next additional appropriation is in the inmate housing fund. $5,000 for, within the Perry County Sheriff budget, $5,000 for overtime for deputies and jailers, $385 for, social security, $570 for retirement, and $12,000 for gas and oil for police cars.
Alan told me that he wanted me to at least tell you on the gas and oil that there
What
was
is
an
that?
agreement that he was taking out of here instead of county general. That way it would help county general, so he's not taking it from there, so he's taking it out of his inmate housing. And I
Is
think
that-
this is very good that he's doing this.
Is that just to get him through the end of the year or what?
I'm not sure, is it, Eric?
Yes, and it was my understanding that some of the fuel bill had been paid from, I think, commissary to maybe last month's bill. I didn't see it, so I don't want to say for sure, but that's my understanding. And it has everything to do, I think, with the pump prices being over $3
Mhm.
They're
for
going
most
up.
of the year. Yeah,
Okay.
That's to pay David's salary.
I mean, this is good that he's taking it out of here,
Yeah,
because it
it's-
is definitely saving us in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Any other questions for Chief Deputy while he's here?
I'll make a motion approved.
Got a motion by David to approve.
Second.
Got a second by Danny. All those in favor, or any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Our next item on the agenda is the approval of Form 144 for the clerk's record perpetuation fund in the clerical position. We've got that here.
Yes, and now the clerk, or now that position is being paid at $12.50, and you guys to do a 4% budget, so if you do, that's what it would come to, and that's what she's asking.
Okay. You all had that, you should have gotten that in your packet, so. Does anyone have any questions while Jane is here? Just simple approval of the form. So,
Are you gonna do it though with this or at the 4%?
oh, okay, I was gonna ask
Yeah,
that,
because this is
actually.
what the 4% is, what everybody else got,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, I would assume the, what is on the form is 1312, and with the 4% we gave everyone else, it's 13 even.
I'd say we leave it at 4%.
Okay. Anyone have any thoughts on that? So we just, I'd entertain a motion to amend the 144 to $13 even, and then approve it.
I'll make that motion to amend the 1312 to 13
Okay.
per hour.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second by Danny. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay?
There's no place to sign
Okay.
these.
And then the next, Form 144 approval is for the grant salaries, salaries from grants for the health department. The State Board of Accounts has been requiring that salaries paid by grants be reported on the salary ordinance, which we talked about last year and we forgot to do that, and it should be getting done every year, or since forever ago, but it's never happened, so we are now making sure that it's getting done. So you should have those 144s in your packet for the 3 different grants. 3 grants? Yeah.
Yeah.
3 different grants that supply additional salaries to our health department workers.
Yep.
So we just need to approve those 144s.
This is only for calendar year 2021.
These are 21 to 22. These started actually as of 7/1/21.
So go through June 30th for 2022.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
They do every time, right? That's the standard.
Those grants do, we have other grants that starts October 1 to September 30th, and then others that go from January to December. So it's kind
Just the
of,
health department will usually.
the health departments generally go from June to July, yeah. It's really confusing, we got too many going different directions.
All right, I would entertain a motion on those 144s, all three of them.
I'll make that motion.
A motion to approve all three 144s
Right.
by David. Do I have a second? Second by Erla. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Speaking of just those grants real quick, I will be bringing a draft resolution on a formal grant procedure for us to have. Because on top of the grants being reported on the salary, SBOA also wants us to have some sort of grant policy in place from the get-go. And we don't have a formal policy, so that's something I want to bring up at our next meeting. And that is all I have. Anyone else have anything else for the
I
good of the order?
wanted to say that Teresa and I, we attended a coalition meeting, the Perry County Mental Health Coalition. And we come up with the idea of having a town hall meeting on November 29th at 5 o'clock here in the Commissioner's Room.
November 29th.
Encourage everybody that can attend, please do.
I'm sorry, what time did you say, Deacon?
5 o'clock.
Can I add
Sure.
something to that?
Yeah.
If you don't mind?
Sure.
You know, I've attended a lot of these meetings. I know that Celia's been involved in regarding substance use, but we're talking mental health as well, and that is definitely a part of that. And from what I'm aware, this mental health coalition was formed recently, and the intent was to get leaders and decision makers in the community involved so that plans could be looked at and made for things. And I know there's school administration, LifeSpring, United Way, the sheriff, I think Tell City Chief of Police, Community Foundation, Tom Hauser, and others have been invited to attend meetings. They can't always attend, and that's an issue when you can't get everybody around the table. So I think what was discussed at the last meeting was, let's get and try to get all the leaders and the elected officials in this community and come together and have, let the people present their concerns, present you with data, information that they have, and not really asking you for decision-making at this meeting, just to inform and get some good productive discussion going as to where we want to go. I know from past experience that there was recently a grant that came available. It was zero match for starting up a sober living house. It was an OKRA grant, and those of you that know how OKRA runs, it's not an easy procedure. You got to have a plan in place. You got pretty well have all your ducks in a row before you can even apply. We don't have that. And so, those are things that come about in our discussions. But there's mental health concerns too. Children, families, adults, others.
That grant you're talking about.
So
will that be available
this town hall, I ran it by the commissioners, and they are fine with using this meeting room on Monday the 29th at 5 p.m., starting at 5 p.m. here. We can advertise it as a public meeting, just like we do for American Rescue Plan, and hope that all of you can attend. You will be getting personal invitations to this, but just to kind of save the date, if you're able. I know there are some other leaderships in the community that would like to present some information and talk about some of the concerns, and just try to get some discussion going. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. If you can put, that's the Monday after Thanksgiving. Okay?
Thank you, Teresa.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, Teresa.
All right. Alrighty. Here. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I'm about to fall asleep right now. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you, Danny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Please.
Yeah.
Someone-
Which one?
I don't know.
David.
David. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. Motion carries 4-0. Thanks everyone for attending.
I would.
So no ARP after this?